What is the best way to learn underwater video? Well, that's a question I get asked quite often, and honestly speaking, guys, there is not really one correct answer to this, because there is a variety of different factors that have to be considered. For example, your current skill level, or how much time and money you want to invest into this, or also where you want to take your underwater video journey, what your goals are with your underwater videography. Now in today's video, I want to give you a quick overview of the three main approaches that you can take at learning underwater video and how each of these approaches has its specific place, and maybe also give you some hints on where you stand within your underwater videography journey and what would be the next logical step for you to improve your underwater videography skills. Coming up. Hey there underwater filmmakers, it's great to see all your smiling faces again. I hope you're doing great and you're getting plenty of dives so that you can practice all your underwater videography skills. Talking about practicing and learning underwater video, this is what today's video is gonna be about. Because no matter how experienced you are when it comes to underwater video, whether you have just started your underwater videography journey or you've been doing this for many years, most definitely there is still things that you are learning on every single dive, and that's for me personally one of the really magical things about underwater videography, that no one can really say that they are proficient, 100% proficient at it at any time. There is always things that you don't know, that you haven't done before, and that you can improve on even if you're already a very experienced underwater videographer. So in today's video, as mentioned before, I want to talk about the three main approaches that you can take when it comes to learning underwater video and improving your skills. We'll talk about the pros and cons of each of these approaches, and I also want to give you some hints on where in your underwater videography journey I think these approaches will fit best and will give you the highest possible benefit. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the approach number one. So the first and probably most common way how people start in their underwater videography journey is to just teach themselves. So it's a trial and error method, which works okay most of the time. Now, this is most likely the most inexpensive method to learn underwater video, because now you don't have to pay for any instructor or anyone else to teach you how to do it. It is also the way that you can probably start with the quickest, because again, you don't need to wait for any classes to start or anything like that. You can basically just grab your camera and your dive gear and jump into the next body of water that is close to your home. And lastly, on the pro side, you get some sort of a satisfaction from having done it yourself, which can be really cool by coming up after you've practiced for a little while, seeing your results, and also seeing the progression and the improvement of the results as you go along. So that can definitely be on the plus side there as well. There is also a couple of negative things though when we talk about the trial and error method. These things include that it's most likely going to take a lot more time for you to learn underwater video, simply because you don't have someone by your side who is going to be able to point out the obvious and push you in the right direction by giving you the right information at the right time, helping you to increase your skill level. Also, it can be tricky to find the appropriate information in all the overflow of information that is freely available, for example, on the internet. Trying to find the specific piece of information can be really difficult and sometimes quite overwhelming. And also there is the potential danger of getting some inaccurate information, which is then not going to help you, but on the reverse, rather slow down your learning process. And last but not least, there is definitely a potential for this whole process of learning to film underwater to become rather frustrating. Reason being here that if you're not happy with the results that you're getting, but you can't really tell why you're not getting the results you want to get, it can really be frustrating, and that can take the fun out of the filming underwater and the diving in general, and that's not really something that we want. So moving up to the second approach of how to learn underwater video, and that will be through a buddy of yours. On the positive side, we have here that you are learning these skills through a familiar person. Also, learning through a familiar person will most likely be a lot more fun than just doing it by yourself. You'll be able to exchange ideas, you'll be maybe even able to go together on dive vacations, on dive trips, and work together on improving your underwater video skills. Also, this is most likely going to be a faster way. You're going to be improving your skills faster than if you were doing the trial and error method. On the negative side of the buddy approach is that you're obviously going to need a buddy who has a certain expertise in underwater video. Otherwise, it's not really going to work to learn from them. It also will depend largely on how well your buddy can pass on his knowledge. Not everyone is a teacher, and it's not easy for everyone to pass on the knowledge that they have. So even though your buddy might be a great underwater videographer, he or she might not be the ideal person to teach you underwater video. So keep that in mind as well. And the last thing on the negative side for me is that your buddy, no matter how experienced he or she is probably not going to know everything about underwater video. And if you have a very specific topic that you want to dive into, like really deep into that topic and learn everything about it, but your buddy can't give you that experience, then it's just going to take, again, much longer for you to master those skills and get to your goal that you've set yourself. And now let's talk about approach number 3, which is learning from a pro. Learning from a professional underwater videographer has certain benefits this brings with it. First of all is that your progress is most likely going to be the fastest out of all of these 3 approaches. You'll be learning from someone who does this, who films underwater pretty much every single day. It's their second nature. They've got a lot of experience, they've seen a lot of stuff, and they've also taught a lot of people before you, so they know what are the common problems that might come up during any session, and most likely will have an appropriate answer to help you overcome a certain problem. And lastly, a very valid benefit is that a professional underwater videographer who teaches underwater video will be able to tailor the knowledge that you need and want to your specific level, and will be able to guide you and to accompany you from basically starting your underwater videography journey all the way to creating your first films and even going into a higher level of underwater video. Obviously, this approach also has some negative aspects that we need to talk about. First and foremost, it's most likely going to be the most expensive approach of all the approaches that we've talked about today, because you now will have to hire a professional underwater videographer to teach you what you want to know about underwater video. Secondly, it can be challenging to find appropriate dates that will fit you as well as the underwater videographer, so that you can find some availability and you can meet and this person can teach you. Because that person is not only teaching, but is most likely also involved in other underwater related work, so it can be challenging finding dates there. And lastly, not every professional underwater videographer is automatically a good teacher. There is people who are much more skilled in passing their knowledge on to other people. And there also might be professional underwater videographers who are really, really good at what they're doing, but they don't like teaching other people, they don't want to do it, they're not very good at it. Or there is even some underwater videographers, professional underwater videographers, they don't want to do it because they fear that there's going to be more competition coming to the field of underwater videography. So picking out an appropriate professional underwater videographer can be a bit of a challenge there as well. So what is the best way to learn underwater video for you now? Well, as said at the beginning, it depends. And if I may be completely honest with you, there is two scenarios in which I would strongly recommend that people seek out the help of a professional underwater videographer. Scenario number one is if you're a complete beginner. Because I think that it is immensely important that you get the basics right before you move further on. And this is most easily done by taking the help of a professional underwater videographer. He can give you all the basics that you need, the fundamentals, and from there on, you can then go on your own journey. You can learn from your more experienced dive buddies. You can learn by doing some trial and error stuff and self-teaching you. So that all works well, but you do need to have the basic right. So that's the scenario number one, where I think a professional underwater videographer is essential. It doesn't mean that you have to hire your private professional underwater videographer. There's other ways how you can do this. You can, for example, join a group class at your local dive shop if they have these classes available. If not, there is ways how you can learn online. There is online courses available that will help you get all the knowledge and the basics to learn all them before you then go on to your further journey with your underwater videography skills. Let's have a quick listen to some of the feedbacks that I've received from my students who have taken my online course Learn to Film Underwater, so that you can understand better what kind of benefits such an online course can give you.
So I think for the online course, I did most of it before I got to the island. It was really good for learning basics, for learning skills. I think everybody should have gone through it before they got here to give them a good footing and so they weren't asking, because they could. There's a lot of knowledge in there. People should know, and a lot of people don't get it. I get stuff through book reading, but a lot of other people don't, and I don't even do it well, so I can't say much. But there was a lot of gold in there from the course.
I did the video course before even the workshop was even planned, because I bought it last year, and even just going through that and using some of those principles while I was diving by myself really helped. So absolutely recommend the video course.
So you see, an online underwater videography course can really be beneficial in kicking off your underwater video journey and supplying you with all the basics that you need, learning from an underwater videography professional without breaking the bank. Another way how you can learn directly from an underwater videography professional without having to actually hire that person just for yourself is by joining one of the underwater videography workshops that are available and offered by these people. Now, within such a workshop environment, not only are you going to be learning from that one person, from that one professional who's going to be with you for the entire time, who's going to be holding presentations, who's going to be diving with you, who's going to be giving you tips and tricks, and who's going to be hands-on helping you with any issues that you might have with your underwater videography. But also, you're going to be learning from all the other participants within the workshop group. And that is something really, really cool, because again, not only are you going to be learning from a professional, but you're also going to be doing this in a very nice setting, most likely in one of the best diving areas in the world. Let's have a quick listen into what some of my students from the past underwater videography workshops say about their experience they had during these workshops.
Well, the workshop covered everything. I already kind of knew about the products. I do work with the dive shop, so it's kind of familiar for me, but the editing pieces, the storytelling, the structures of how you guys create your workflows, so then we can kind of get an idea of does this flow work for us? Do we want to change it a little bit to make it a little bit more personal? It gives us a starting point to venture out on our own.
I'm kind of a beginner when it comes to underwater filmmaking, and I really appreciate in the workshop that we had different levels in there. So I not only profited from Matthias and Sebastian, but I also got to profit from all of the knowledge of our fellow group members. They were so kind to share all their tips with me, so I really learned a lot from all of the participants.
Well, the thing that benefited me the most about this underwater workshop, I think, was the hands-on tuition that we had every night that we got to put into practice the next day. For example, lighting was something I never had much experience with, so I really enjoyed talking about lighting, using the lighting underwater in conjunction with filters, and just understanding the best ways to find lighting either through natural or artificial lights.
So you see, it's not just about the learning underwater video when it comes to these workshops, it's about the entire experience, the diving, the company, everything that comes along with it. Now let's talk about the second situation in which I think it is crucial to seek out the help of a professional underwater videographer, and this will be if you have come along a fair bit on your underwater videography journey, you're experienced, and now you have a few very specific questions that you need an answer to. Obviously, you can join an underwater videography class and you'll be able to sit down with the professional here and there and find some time to talk about your problems and hopefully find a solution to deal with them. But if you don't have the opportunity, don't have the time, don't have the money to go on a underwater videography workshop, the next best thing is to book a one-on-one online session with such an underwater videography professional. Being able to show them some of your footage and get some direct feedback from their professional is immensely beneficial, because it might save you hours and hours or even days or weeks of research online trying to find the appropriate answer that you're looking for in terms to achieve your goal and get to the desired result. Up until now, I wasn't offering any one-on-one online coaching in such a way, but I've realized that this is that there is a demand within the community and that people can really benefit from tapping into my knowledge this way without having to come onto an underwater videography workshop if they don't really want to. So I have created a package there, a one-on-one online session that you can book with me. We'll sit down, you can send me some footage to review beforehand, and then we'll sit down and we'll have an hour to talk about the issues that you have within your underwater videography game, and we'll find a solution how you can work around that the best in the future. So I've set up a offer which can be seen on my online shop. I'll put a link down to the offer in the video description below. And I've just published this like 2 or 3 days ago. And I've also published it as a promo, a launch offer, where normally for a 60-minute one-on-one live chat session, which includes a 30 minutes preparation time on my side, so you can send me whatever footage you want, I'll review it beforehand, and then we'll have a 60-minute video chat online about the topics and the issues that you want to talk about. So it's a 90-minute session if you want to put it that way. Will cost you normally 350 euros, but now in this launch period you can have it for 200 euros only. So you see, it really depends on where you are in your underwater videography journey and where you put your focus as to what approach is going to be most beneficial to you and what's going to fit best to your expectations and your needs. Hopefully I was able to give you some extra information with this video today and show you that there is different approaches how you can learn underwater video, and maybe also give you a hint or two as to what should be the next step and which approach would be the best for you personally in the situation that you are right now. I'll be putting links down in the video description to my online course, Learn to Film Underwater, if you want to go and check that out, and as well to my website where you can find all the underwater videography workshops that are planned for the coming year. Feel free to go and check them out as well. And if you feel like you want to join me on one of these workshops, then feel free to send me a message to bookings@matthiaslebo.com, and I'd be really excited to have you with us on one of the next underwater videography workshops. Before I let you go, just a quick outlook to next week's video, in which we will be talking about the GoPro 11 and we'll compare the 10-bit color depth of the GoPro 11 to the 8-bit color depth of the GoPro 10, and try to compare those two to see whether or not it makes sense to upgrade from a GoPro 10 to a GoPro 11, specifically looking at the color depth difference and what benefits this is going to give you as an underwater videographer. If you don't want to miss out on that video, make sure to tune in next Tuesday again. Until then, have a fantastic week, keep capturing your underwater adventures, and if you want to learn something more about underwater video in the meantime, I've put 2 videos here on the site which are going to give you some tips and tricks on how to get better with your underwater video. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.